Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe. We had to leave a little time for you two to get reacquainted with your favorite student, Doug, right?
3 times. I coached them 3 times, Chris. 3 times I coached them.
4. Well, 3 teams, but 4 years.
Yeah, 3 teams.
Yeah.
His first and last game pro was with me.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that because I want to find out just what this fucking kid was up to when he played. I don't know if he's been honest with me about how hard he works, and he always talks about how tough he played.
I didn't work hard. I told you that.
I don't know if I can tell all the stories off ice.
Yeah. No, this is only on ice stuff. We're only doing on ice stories here.
I don't want to say anything about you and Kimmy Hirschwitz.
Oh, all right.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down, and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious, and I was malicious, and I don't care.
I'm alive.
He's a freaking madman! Look at him going to town! That'll be
All right, let's get cranking here. I appreciate you joining Tim and I today. Sheds, good to finally meet you. We played against each other.
Yes, we did.
Back in the day in the 80s. And, I want to get back to that starting your hockey career, get drafted by the Penguins. You start out with the Pens. Man, you were such a good player. You put the numbers up. And those 4 years in Pittsburgh, like after that, you go to Detroit. Like, I would have thought you would have played longer and been able to put those type of numbers up until you retired almost.
That's very interesting, Chris, how that happened. And, sometimes you just get traded to the wrong team. And, you know what? I got traded to Detroit, and then I had some, they were just rebuilding. Yzerman was a young kid then. Jacques Demers came in, and he kind of liked those older defensive guys like, Davey Barr and Timmy Higgins and those type of players. And, hey, I love Probert. I love Kosher, Stevie, Gallant. It was good, really good.
Lee, we had an old teammate of yours on. Lee, why can't I think of his last name?
Norwood.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No,
yeah,
good bunch of guys, but it just didn't work out for me in Detroit for whatever reason, because Jock was a different guy, and he wasn't. It didn't work out for me. I can't. I don't want to blame anybody. I blame myself more than anybody.
No. Listen, I get that. The different situations you're in. Believe me, I know when I left Montreal, I struggled a bit, and it was tough to get going somewhere else. But again, looking at those numbers, did you have injuries during that time? Did you have issues with injuries, stuff like that?
Not till I got to Toronto, and I led the American League in scoring there, and I got called up to Toronto. I blew a knee out. We played 4 games in 4 days. I played Friday night in Newmarket, Saturday night in Binghamton, Sunday in Baltimore. Got home at 10 o'clock in the morning, had 15 beers on the bus, and I got called up to Toronto to play Calgary on a Monday night. And, your senses weren't right? And I got hurt. Yeah. Gary Suter caught with a bad hit and blew a knee out, so that was almost a year of rehab there. So other than that, I didn't really have – I had a bad wrist injury in Pittsburgh where I missed some time 1 year, my 3rd year, I think, there. But no.
Did you know you were getting traded, or was that just like a complete shock?
It was right on the deadline, and it was a great story because we just went through the West Coast. Back then there was only, L.A. and you did your Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg shit. So we had one last game in Washington, and it was on the deadline, March 13th or whatever that deadline used to be. And I remember Mike Bullard and Normie Schmidt, where we went out and had a couple beers at the Red Lobster, because that's all we could afford in those days, Red Lobster. And I get home, and the deadline was at 12 o'clock. I get back to the room. Mike Bullard and I are roommates. And, of course, the phone rings at 5 after 12 at night, right? And Bullard's on there, and Bullard's a prankster. He's a fucking, he tells lies and stories all the time. He goes, yeah, EJ, how you doing? Eddie Johnson, EJ, how you doing? Yeah, Shedzy's right here. And I'm going, I'm not getting on the phone. You're joking. he goes, no, Shedsy. I said, hang up the phone. So I hung up the phone, and of course it rings right back, and it was Eddie Johnson. He goes, you're traded to Detroit for Ron Duguay, and that's when Don Cherry said, well, they both got great hair, but Shedden will score more goals.
So, yeah,
that's great.
So we go back to growing up. You grew up in Ontario, and you obviously a Leafs fan. You had to be a Leafs fan, although you were close to Detroit where you grew up, right? You were closer.
Well, where I was born in Wallaceburg was close to Detroit, yeah. But I basically grew up in Barrie, which was an hour south of Toronto. So, yeah, I was a Leaf fan. No question, I was a Leaf fan.
So growing up as a Leaf fan, and you played Kitchener Rangers, and I don't know why they did this, but what a name, the Hamilton Fin Cups. I mean, why did they change that name?
Well, the two owners, the owner, one owner was a Finocchio and the other guy was a Cupolo. So that's how they got the name Fin Cups.
Wow. So when the new ownership come in, they change it, I guess.
Yeah, when Finocchio and Cupolo sold the team, that's basically that's when they moved to Brantford. They moved to Brantford Alexanders.
Yeah. So your junior career, played a few different teams. Like I said, Sault Ste. Marie. How when you were in the Sioux, you get drafted that year? Was your draft year 80 or 79?
Yeah, when
79, 80.
You guys took Wickenheiser, right? The first overall pick. Yeah, that was my draft with Coffey and all those guys. I was 61 born, so that was a pretty good group of guys that were drafted that year that I played against. And I got traded for Coffey in junior. I got traded for Gaston Gingras, who you played with, I'm sure, in Montreal. Yeah. So,
it's funny, and I ask because you look at the league today, the draft, everybody goes, I've said this before, but I got drafted by the Habs, 78. I got a fucking letter in the mail 2 weeks later saying I was drafted and I'm invited to training camp. And now guys, they all, what do you think of that? When guys, you see all these young kids, they go to the draft, they get up, they're all trained in media before they go.
Oh,
it's
for sure.
Crazy.
And you're required to do 20 push-ups at training camp. And
nuts.
Did you go higher? Like, did you go where you thought you were going to go in the draft, or did you
Sault Ste. Marie, when I got traded up there to Kitchener, they were last place team, so we didn't make the playoffs in junior. So I was rated around, again, there's only 21 teams back then. So I was rated early in the third round, and I thought I was going to go to Minnesota because Lou Nanny was a Sioux guy, and I got all kinds of reports that Lou was going to take me in the third round, and I ended up going fifth round to Pittsburgh.
So fifth round of Pittsburgh, you go to Pittsburgh. We see the numbers, and they're great numbers. You come in there, your rookie year, you did well, and you were there for Mario's rookie year. And I always tell this story. I remember I was here in Montreal, and he played a game at the Forum, and again, I didn't know shit about junior hockey growing up in Boston. I knew nothing about. Matter of fact, I always say if I played junior hockey, I probably would have been a first round pick. I really believe I would have, but I went the college route. I knew nothing about it. Anyway, I watched him, Mario Lemieux, playing at the Forum. They had a game. He was playing for Laval, and I watched him, and I'm going, what is all the talk about? This guy, he floated around. He didn't. I think he had an assist in the game or something. I mean, he ain't that good, right? The one game I saw him, go figure. And then he comes to the NHL and he just starts ripping it apart. How was that when he came in? What was the hoopla like? What, the expectation down in Pittsburgh?
It's funny because just lately on TikTok, they have a great big story on, how the Penguins fucking died that year so they get Mario Lemieux. And obviously I was part of that team. And I had 34 goals that year with 20 games to go. I came home one night and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get 50 this year. I'm going to get 50. I got one the rest of the year because they called up everybody from Baltimore, 12 guys from Baltimore. And I got one the rest of the year. I didn't play power play anymore. And so did we tank to get Mario? I have to believe the players. We don't know. We don't know they're doing what they're doing. They're just looking. We're in last place. Let's give all these American League guys a chance. Vincent Trombley was a goalie. He couldn't stop a beach ball with a broom. He played like 6, 7 games. So it was hilarious. And looking back on it now, yeah, did they do the right thing? Absolutely. Devils got Kirk Muller. Kirk was a great player, a great guy, everything else, but he's not Mario Lemieux.
Right. Now, who was running the show back then?
Eddie Johnson was the GM. If you remember, Baz Bastien got killed in a car accident one night at a team party at Froggy's downtown Pittsburgh. But I'm sure you were there once or twice, Chris, when you went into play Pittsburgh.
I was at Senior Froggy's. I was there.
So he got killed, bless his heart, he got killed in a car accident going home. And then Eddie took over, and then he hired Lou and Gotti as the coach that year. And, yeah, the documentary is pretty true. I think that they knew what Eddie knew what he was doing. He had to save the franchise. They're getting 6,000 people a game, and Mario's the biggest name to come in. And I told the story because we just signed Nick Ritchie here yesterday at my team in Islone.
Oh, cool.
And he walks on the ice and he falls right down right away. He falls flat in his ass, and everybody's going, what the hell's going on? This guy, NHL player. I said, you know what? Mario Lemieux did the same thing. All the cameras were there. The first day of training camp, he steps on the ice and falls flat in his ass. But he turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, when he come in, and again, it's funny you say that because, all the talk now in the NHL, when you see teams not doing well, they're tanking. You always hear everybody saying they're tanking. But, boy, it wasn't. I guess the exposure wasn't there like it is now, right?
No, obviously, the media.
But back in the day, obviously, bringing all them guys up, not playing you, not playing other guys, I'm sure it had a huge effect on that. And it did save the franchise because I think before that they struggled a bit and they were struggling with attendance. I remember Pierre LaRouche was there, right? And Pierre was, he was, doing his thing there, but he certainly wasn't the type of guy that could save a franchise like Mario. And how did things change when he got there?
Well,
other than the way he played, but how did it change?
Again, the guy's 18 years old, right? He's coming in as an 18-year-old. He got 99 points his first year. So, you could tell he's so big. And you're right. You know what, Chris? You watch him, he's lazy. But those big men, for some reason, they look that way, but they're really not.
Yeah.
And again, once he grew into his body, we had a test back then where you had to do 175 pounds 15 times on a bench press. Mario's got a cigarette in his mouth in training camp. He couldn't. He's got arms on him like spider's elbows. There's no chance he could get that off the bar. And he said, "What are they gonna do? Cut me? They're gonna send me down?"
Didn't you say you had to do a run too, and he just turned back or something?
Yeah, he says, "What? They gonna cut me?" He kept saying that they're gonna cut me. And I don't think so, Mario. I think you're pretty safe.
Good for him. But lay the law down. We saw what happened to Pacioretty, right, this year, or when he was in Carolina. They were running. He tore his Achilles. They were running doing sprints or something, blue line to blue line, and rips his Achilles. And
I watch these guys get ready for a game, and I've been coaching for 32 years now, and I could never play the game, what they do before the game.
Yeah, right. I know, you're dead. Right?
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how they play.
So, all right, your playing career, obviously, again, you put the numbers up, and when you have your last year in Newmarket, were you struggling with, should I retire? What should I do? Obviously, you do go to Europe, but, back in our era, certainly the 80s, coming out of there and coming out of the game, there was no transition there for players. There was no, hey, guys, when hockey's over, they always tell you get ready for it, but I don't care how much you prepare. You could have all the money in the world. You're never ready for that shock of not playing anymore. But did you struggle with that a bit
No,
when you left the game?
Chris, I didn't have a chance to think about it. Number one, that last year I got called up to Toronto and I led the Leafs in scoring when I was there for 23 games. I had
I saw that. You had 18 points, 23 games. Hello.
Yeah. And Wendell Clark and, was a good friend of mine still today. they went nuts. They sent me down because they got Mario come back off an injury, and they're going. And when I went up there, we started winning, and we were challenging for a playoff spot. I got scored 2 big goals in Minnesota one night. We won 2-1. And then when they sent me down, Brad Marsh and Clarkey, they went crazy. They go, "What are you fucking sending him down for? Like he's leading our team in scoring." So that broke my heart. That did.
Who was the genius? Who was the genius running the team then?
Floyd Smith.
There you go. That explains it.
Yeah, Tom Watt was the coach, and I love Tom Watt. I thought he was a great coach. He's a great guy to play for, and he told it like it is. And you know, Brad Marsh says, because it's funny, we're leaving Minnesota one night, and he goes, "We just won 2-1. Sheds, you got both goals." "Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as the team won." He goes, "It's going to matter tomorrow when you send them back down to the American League."
Unbelievable.
So that really broke my heart, because I knew that was my last chance at sticking in the National Hockey League, really. And I did everything I could to be successful, and I played with Kruzelinski and Clarkey, and I were a line. And then the next year, I had nothing going on, and then Italy called me. I went to Bolzano and played in Bolzano and had a wonderful life there, and loved it, and beautiful, and bunch of great old NHL guys playing over there, Napier and Flockart and those type of guys. And then the next year, I went to Milwaukee on a tryout. And again, I screwed my ankle up in Italy. I hit a rut, and I tore all the ligaments of my ankle, so it never healed. But the next year, I got a tryout in Milwaukee, and Kurt Fraser said, "Listen."
How old are you at this time? Sorry, by the way.
31.
Okay. All right.
31.
All right.
So Kurt Fraser said, "Sheds, we just, don't retire, but you're playing well. We just don't have any contracts." So Bruce Boudreau was at the training camp. He goes, "Why don't you come and be my player assistant in Muskegon in the Colonial League," or whatever it was called back then. So I said, well, whatever, I might as well. I went there, and I was leading the league in scoring and doing pretty well in that. And then Wichita called me, and I tore my ankle up again. And Wichita called me and said, "We were looking for a head coach that played in the National Hockey. Will you take the job?" So, Chris, I jumped right over the fence. I had no time to think about it. I jumped right over the fence.
Well, good for you. Good for you, because a lot of guys, they do struggle. A lot of guys try and stay in the game. They don't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they struggle. I know I had my issues and struggles, certainly when I left the game. Bolzano, it's funny you were in Bolzano, because that year, that was my last year NHL. Came back to Montreal, 91, 92. The curtain call, "See you later, I'm done." I got an invite to come to Bolzano the following season.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't go because I'm married. I got 3 young kids. I mean, what? I'm going to chase it. What am I going to go over there?
God's country.
I always kick myself in the ass that I didn't do it.
I had Scott Young. He's a Boston guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was playing with me over there. It's such a beautiful area, like northern Italy. It was so. And back then, they're paying pretty good money for the guys there.
How is the actual hockey? Didn't you say you? I remember you told me a story. A guy cracked you over the head at one game.
Yeah, a guy I grew up with. Chris probably fought him a couple times. Bill Stewart.
Oh yeah, Billy Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a Fred Flintstone right over the head, cracked the helmet right in half.
I fought him in the American League. I know my first year. That's where I fought Stewie.
Yeah, Stewie, good guy, tough guy, but he's kind of a little mental at times.
Yeah, a little bit if you're gonna do that to someone, obviously.
Well, and he was pretty cheap guy, but he felt so bad after the game because my head was leaking like crazy. I got a bunch of stitches in Italy that they don't believe in freezing; they just stitch your head up. I'm going, put some freezing in there. No, don't put the money. So that after the game, Stewie bought me 5 beers. He felt so bad.
So, God, what's again? Were you in Pitt when I threw the puck at Paul Baxter?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You were there, right? Yeah, because Tim heard this story, and I got to get Baxy on here to tell that. I got to get his number from someone, but I want to have him on to talk about that. I'll never forget that night. Crazy.
Well, Baxter was pretty. He's a pretty tough guy. Like him and Lickbag Price there. They were good for us.
Lickbag Price.
But Baxter, he coached in Finland when I was playing for you. I remember that.
He coached in IFK. Yeah, we had a few insults at each other, and he tried to get me a few times to join the club with him, but I never did.
Well, it's incredible, your coaching career when I look at it, and you know that transition right from playing into Wichita. You don't make the playoffs that first year, and then you win the championship next 2 years. And then
I took over halfway through the year from a Boston guy. You probably know this guy, Chris, Gary Fay. Do you remember him?
oh yeah, Jesus, Gary Fay.
Yeah, that's who I
Yeah.
took over halfway through the year. We're 6-22, and I took over. We almost made the playoffs that first year. We almost made the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you certainly got in there next year and did your thing, won the championship next 2 years. Then you end up in the coast. I was there the same time as you for a little bit. I had 2 years in the coast with
Where were you?
Chesapeake. I was in Chesapeake. How's that? We're both in the same league. You didn't even know I was there.
Well, I never played you. I never played you.
No, we never played against each other.
Yeah.
I was there 97, 98, 98, 99.
Okay. Well, I was in the coast from 95 to 99 in Louisiana.
Yeah, the Ice Gators. And
Yeah. 11,800 every night.
I know, unbelievable,
Really?
right?
Yep.
Oh, it was
cow.
crazy.
Sold out every night.
They had more fans than some NHL teams.
And 80% of them were girls.
Right?
It was, and the town was only 100,000 people. So, like, we're
Was it
getting
like
10% of the population come to the games.
Yeah. They had a pretty good marketing strategy, right? The guys who own that.
It was unreal. It was
Was
unreal.
that the only team in town? Was that like, there's no other sports, college? Nothing?
Tim,
Or what?
Louisiana.
Well, they had
I see that, but, go
they
ahead.
had, the college football raging cage.
Yeah. Okay, different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was amazing 4 years of my life there. We were treated like gold down there. I thought it was in the NHL.
And you weren't. But is that the ultimate goal for you at that time? Are you saying, listen, I'm going to make my way? And I coached 2 years there. My first year, I got Coach of the Year, the John Brophy Trophy.
Okay.
And second year, I had expansion team. Both years, we made the playoff. I thought, geez, I got a good shot at the American Hockey League after my second year. I wasn't, I guess, planning to stay in the East Coast Hockey League for a long time. They moved the franchise to Jackson, Mississippi the following year.
Okay.
And I left. I had a shot at the job in Providence. Pat Burns was in Boston. He wanted me in Providence. I got a phone call the night before they're going to hire and said, you got the job. And then the next day, when I think they're going to call me to go to the press conference, Michael Connell calls me and says, listen, we decided to go in another direction. And I said, okay, I get it. Cool. I said, who would you end up going with? And he said, Peter Laviolette. And Chris, I'm going to be totally honest with you. We wanted you, but the owner, Ed Anderson of Providence, wanted Peter because he knows Peter really well. And Peter played there for him like 3 years or something. I'm okay, I get it. So that's the honesty.
In our business, that's what happens. That's just exactly what happens.
Yeah. And I say, you know what? And that's when I found out too, if you're not saddled up with someone, it is tough to kind of get that next level.
Well, when I went to the American League with St. John's in Toronto, Pat Quinn hired me, and Pat Quinn and we got to be really close. And when the battle was going on, whether he was going to be GM and coach, and he decided, he thought he'd have both. And Toronto said, no, you got to take a pick. And that's when they hired John Ferguson Jr. And that's how I got screwed out of Newfoundland, because Pat took the coaching job, and then, John brought his own person in that he liked, and Pat was pissed off. Pat goes, he promised me you're going to be the coach next year. And I said, well, that's what happens. If you would have kept the GM job, I would be the coach here still. So that was my biggest chance, I thought, of getting the NHL, other than when I coached Finland in 2008. We won the bronze medal at the World Championships they were in Halifax and Quebec City. And I thought after that year I'd get some looks. I really thought I'd get some attention. and it just didn't happen.
Weren't you you were the first? Was that the first import coach for that national
Yes,
team?
for Finland.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So I really thought something was going to happen that year, and it's funny. I ran into Daryl Sittler and Lanny McDonald in Halifax because they had kind of a reunion for the '76 Canada Cup team or whatever it was. And so I'm walking into the game in Halifax and sitting, I know Daryl from a lot of golf tournaments and Lanny and all that. And they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I coach Finland." They had no idea.
You can't be here. Oh, fuck, that's so funny.
And were you not getting no assistant job offers? That wasn't even an option. You didn't want to be assistant coach?
No, I would have. Randy Carlisle asked me in 2007 when he took over the job in Anaheim, because we were buddies from Pittsburgh and that, and we still are friends. And HIFK in Finland, Dave King had just quit on them to go to Russia for more money. So then they hired me, another Canadian, which they wanted Canadian coaches all the time. So they hired me, and Randy called me like a week after, and I said, "Well, fuck, I can't quit. King already walked out. I can't walk out on him." So should I have took the assistant coaching job and won a Stanley Cup maybe in 2007, 8, whatever it was? But I just couldn't walk out on him.
Yeah, it's funny when you're head coach. It's like the other way for me. I coached 1 year in Jersey with Lemieux. It was a year after they won the cup, and I was gone after the year. And I get it. Like I don't know how many times Tim has heard this, but like the guys thought they had 2 assistant coaches. I was not a good assistant coach. I couldn't be one. I'm
head coaches. They thought they had 2 head coaches, right?
Yeah. That's the players felt like they had 2 head coaches. I wasn't patting guys in the ass and fucking babying them, and I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
No, the only time I was ever assistant coach was with the Spengler Cup. I was assistant coach with Messier, who had never coached a fucking down in his life, Crawford, and McTavish. There were 3 different years where I assisted those guys. Then I took over after that, the Spengler Cups. And I'm just not very good at that.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that, no question about it, because I lived it, and it wasn't. And that's when I went to the East Coast Hockey League. the year after I had that head coaching job. Anyway, so off to Finland. You know what I want to ask, and again, you Sweden, Finland, now the Swiss League, and then in Germany. How difficult being a North American coach is it with the language barrier? Is there one? Does it happen? I mean, hockey's hockey, I get it, but that language barrier, have you run into that in your coaching career, and how'd you overcome it?
If I can go back, Chris, when I first went to Finland, like not ever coaching in Europe before, it was very foreign. Number one, the names. Like I just japped the names of the guys.
Yeah, right.
But they all spoke English, so that was no problem. Like the Finns are very smart people, but they're just the way they trained, and Tiger knows this too. Like it was just different for me. It was really different. And then I went to Switzerland, and again, everybody spoke English there, and the training methods are obviously just a little bit different. But like I said, hockey's hockey. The only time I ever got into some language problems was maybe when I went to Slovakia. It wasn't, those guys didn't speak a whole lot of English, but we still got by. So the answer to the question is no, I don't think it's ever been a problem.
When you coached at IFK, he mentioned this kid, Kimmy Hirschowitz. He told me there's a boat nux that goes from Helsinki to Stockholm. And Viking. It's like you're not going on there and drinking water, is all I'm saying. And so Sheds, I guess, early on with this first team in Finland, the guys didn't really know him, and something happened where you fell down like a flight of stairs or something.
No.
And Hirschowitz said he's like, "Coach, you all right?" He's like, "I played 400 fucking NHL games." Like,
let's get the right guy.
What happened? What happened?
No, I remember, because all you hear about is the Finns, how much they drink, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When they get the green light. They don't do it every day like North Americans. We go have a beer every day kind of thing. They don't do that. But when they get a green light. So my first training camp with IFK, we're on an island. Maramahigi or something like that between Finland and Sweden. So I keep saying to my assistant coaches, where it's a small island, there's only like 2 pizza parlors and 1 bar. So, I'm going out for a beer and I'm going, assistant coaches, the players not drink? He goes, no, they're not going to drink. I said, I thought they liked that. He goes, no. On the boat ride home at the end of the week in training camp, look out Loretta. So we get on the boat at 12 o'clock at night going from Sweden back to Finland. And the one guy, Jari Karlatti, famous guy, he orders 100 Jägermeisters. Orders 100 Jägermeisters. He goes, and I said, oh, I guess the party's on. Yeah, they say, now it's on. But I don't know if I fell down the stairs.
I don't know. We'll blame that. But it's true though, Nux. Like when we get a green light, like a day off, like these Finns would they'd be falling off bar stools and shit. Like that's how like it was nuts.
They'd pass out, get up and start drinking again, and just keep going. Yeah.
So, coaching and the short time I coached, one thing I didn't like about other coaches as a player and as a coach, when they yelled at other players on the ice.
Yep.
I fucking hated that. I had a guy, I forget his name, he was assistant with the Islanders once, yelled something off the bench, Nyland, you whatever, and I turned around and he was like, and it just pissed me off so much. I was coaching the East Coast League. Roanoke, Scott Gordon was coaching.
Oh, yeah.
And he was fucking yapping at my players, right?
The commissioner Gordon.
So he has to walk by my bench between periods.
He took the long way. He take the long way?
No, he came by. He made a mistake coming by. I fucking snapped on him. He was almost by center ice to get to his bench. He walked like 5 feet away from the boards. I'm there, Anyway, my players certainly loved it because I was sticking up for them, right?
Sure,
they loved
sure.
it.
I wasn't, I wasn't a big fighter as a player, that.
No,
but I fought more times as a coach than I have as a player.
Well, I was going to get to this. Don't worry. I was going to get to this. And that goes back to the Central League days, and you end up fighting Mr. Pulaski. What went on there?
Greg Pahalski. Yeah.
Pahalski, yeah.
That was in the Colonial League or whatever the fucking league was called. I don't remember. I was in Flint and he was in Port Huron, and he had some, he had some big boys like Jason Simon and some guys like that. And I didn't really have a big, tough team. Mark Major is the only guy I had, I think, that was tough. And anyways, going into the game, the papers he's kind of saying some stuff in the papers that we're kind of a chicken shit team kind of thing.
Right.
Basically, if you're smart enough, you can read between the lines what he's calling us. So, and I don't remember who won, what happened, but all I remember in Port Huron. You ever been in Port Huron that rink?
Never. Thank God.
Okay, well, the home team's dressing room's up the stairs, and the visiting team's down the stairs. So we're walking off, and fucking their players are throwing water bottles at us and stuff like that. And, it was kind of ugly. And he stuck his fucking neck out, and I said, and you? I said, get the fuck down here. So he came down and, he smashed his glasses in a little bit. And
give him a black eye. I can certainly see that with coaches. You get pissed at sometimes when guys do stuff or they say things. I certainly get it.
Yeah, Gary and Unger and I met at Center Ice one night too in Tulsa.
Right? So that wasn't the only night. So you're a little fiery.
There's been a few. And as we get older, Chris, we don't get that emotions anymore. I was a young, fiery guy. Like I was a little maybe, off the limits a little bit. Like a Tiger, I think in the finals against Byrne, I almost got into.
No, that's the clip you were watching, Nux. I showed these guys the clip.
I'm going like this.
With LaPierre, you and LaPierre just fucking getting shit started.
The one I saw was it Leuenberger, the guy?
Lugano.
Yeah.
Lugano.
Yeah. It was in Lugano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I saw you going.
Again, as we get older, you don't take those things as serious anymore. But I was pretty fiery when I was younger.
Sheds used to be like no one, he would have like no one talk to the refs, and as soon as the puck dropped, he would be just motherfucking the refs. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm still that way. Don't talk to him. Just leave him alone. You look at us.
How I noticed you calling Tim. He got more fucking nicknames.
He doesn't know my name.
Stapes, Whitey, Tiger. What's the other one? Butch.
Buster.
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 Yeah.
Butch. We'll give you Butch too now.
Yeah.
Christ.
That's
No
my
nicknames.
No, we all know Whitey. Us old guys know Whitey.
Yeah.
Whitey Stapleton, right? Chicago and everything. But when he came to Helsinki, he looked like a young Tiger Woods.
Yeah. I mean, all the Finn, everyone called me Tiger.
Tiger.
The Finnish guys would be like, Tiger. It was
More
awesome.
like a pussycat, Tim. You are not a tiger.
He was a little fast rat, was what he was.
Yeah.
So, God, the Swiss League in Zug, you were like, when you look at your coaching career, the whole career, which was the favorite place to live? Not coach, live.
Lugano.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Piece of art.
You can't even explain
Piece
it.
of art.
Like you can't. It's.
Most beautiful place in the world that has a hockey team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been over there. One of my dreams. One of the guys, you know, the Sassy brothers. I think it was Marion, lives in Lausanne.
Lausanne, yeah. I played with the Stastnys.
Yeah. So yeah, he
That's
told
a
me how
nice city
beautiful
too.
it is.
There's
there.
not
He
a
said-
bad sit. There's not a bad place in Switzerland.
Maybe
Right.
Langnau. Maybe Langnau's kind of like.
So, the Swiss League in Germany. You were in Germany, right? Are you there now in Germany?
Yeah, I'm in a place called Iserlohn now. I took over. You know,
Still there?
usually when you take over teams halfway through the year, they're not in first place, right?
No, I was going to ask you that, Sheds. You've done that quite a few times throughout your career where you come in and you take a team, they could be last place to make playoffs. What, like coming in, like what's the first thing you're changing or what you're looking for? Is it toughness, goal scoring? I know you don't have many options with imports, but I've always wanted to know like what you look for. What's your strategy?
I am getting the reputation as they're kind of calling it the fixer, right? He'll fix it up for you. But I don't know if I like that or not. And my wife, Julie, says, no, that's a good thing for you. I said, well, I don't know if I like that.
Go fix the fucking light in the kitchen.
I can't do that. But, you know, it's kind of funny because it always happens the same way. You take over as a new coach comes in, he wins the first couple games. Then you lose like 6 or 7. Then you figure out what you have. And then if you can get them to overcome it and get them to work hard, how you want them to work and your system and all that, I've been successful in that way. This team this year was kind of a nightmare. I don't know if we could fix it. We're trying. We have made great strides. Like we're at 14 points out of it. Now we got down to 3. So we still got a little ways to go. Like right in Germany, if you end up in 14th place, they have a relegation.
Yeah.
So if the team in the B League wins, you go down, they come up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to save this team is just from relegation to save. And the fans here are amazing. Like the fans are incredible. It's a great atmosphere at the games.
Like you're legit trying to save the team. Like they
trying to keep them in the A League. Yes.
That's crazy.
So Ingolstadt, where you are, have you been there 6 years? Is it 7?
No, I was in Ingolstadt for 5 years, and now I'm in a place called Iserlohn.
Iserlohn, different place. All right, okay.
Yeah,
he was just in Slovakia or somewhere in, right?
Yeah, I was in Slovakia last year. I took over again a last place team, and yeah.
How was that language barrier? There had to be guys that didn't know English.
Oh yeah, that was a tough one. But you know what? A beer is only $1.50. It was a very cheap country to live in.
So you said you mentioned your wife. Now, how many kids?
3 girls. Tiger used to babysit my kids.
And he said that they
I don't know
have kids. He's a grandpa now, Grandpa Shed.
I don't know if I would have been that brave to let him babysit the kids.
I think I was a little young and dumb at that point.
So, how difficult that family life? God, your wife has to be so understanding, moving around like you have all these years. That's difficult on a relationship and a family. How'd you get through that with your wife and kids?
Chris, she loved every second of it. We're moving, okay. She'd pack up the apartment in a half a day and be ready to go. Like every move we made, she was ready to go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Like Wichita, Louisiana, Memphis,
God bless her.
Newfoundland.
Yeah. No, she's great for sure.
So no, she loved, and she just loved living in new places and new stories, like new restaurants. Like and the kids had a great growing up. Like they're most years 3 years in Helsinki and then like 8 in Switzerland. So
how many languages do they know? Do they know multiple languages?
Yeah, English and profanity. No, but their major years of school, they grew up in Switzerland. So what an education that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was great. It was unreal.
So the kids all grown and gone now.
Yeah. One lives in Liza lives. My oldest is a school teacher in Barrie. Eliza lives in Manhattan, and Liddy lives in the Finger Lakes up in Canandaigua.
Oh, cool.
I mean, are you hoping and dreaming? I mean, are you still trying to? Would you want to coach in the NHL still? Are you even thinking about that?
I think that boat has sailed.
Yeah. Okay.
So would I like to be a pro scout in the NHL or something and come home and do something like that? Yeah, I'd love to. And I've almost had a couple chances. It didn't go through, but I'll keep looking for that.
Wow. So when the season's over there, do you pack up and come right home?
Yeah, I live in Marco Island in Florida.
Okay. So you come back to Florida.
I get back home and get on that golf course and get out in that ocean and fish as fast as I can.
Fish, yeah. That's right. You're big
fishing too, huh?
I love fishing. I could go every day.
Right here, you got a fishing partner. Let me tell you.
Did you go out in Boston quite a bit?
Well, I live in Montreal now. I'm back in Montreal.
Yep. Okay.
I moved back for a radio job back in 2011 after I got sober. And then I had that for 10 years. I got fired because I wouldn't get vaccinated. And I started this podcast with Tim. Yeah.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. It's a great show.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You like coaching or playing better? I wanted to ask you that.
Coaching or playing? Well, I've done the coaching so long I forgot about it. Played. I'm like Bruce Boudreau. Boudreau says I can't skate anymore. I can still pass though. I haven't missed a pass in 25 years.
Well, it's funny you bring up his name because I looked at Bruce. I played against Bruce down there, 100 points in the American League. And back when we were coming into the league, again, you didn't have to be the fastest skater on earth to play in the NHL. If you could put points up, there's a guy I think that got screwed over as a player. Now, I don't know the whole story. And then he almost got fucking buried as a coach until that break he got in Washington. And then the career he's had in the NHL, it's unbelievable. He finally got a chance. Like, man, I just look at some guys just never get that fucking chance. Here we are talking to you. Would you coach in the NHL? You'd think it sailed the ship, but you just never know. But here you get an opportunity, and I'm sure you could coach in the NHL. And it's who you're fucking tied to sometimes, right?
100%. And and Boudreau's the type of player. And I played with Gabby and I played against him. I don't care what league he'd be in, he'd still get 100 points. So he was that good. He just wasn't the fastest guy in the rink, and he didn't have the best shot, but he certainly might have been the smartest guy in the rink. Yeah,
for sure. You look at him now, I'm sure a guy goes, that fucking guy played in the NHL?
Who's this? Are you still talking about Boudreau?
Yeah.
God, yeah. You see
him
on those
like a mailman.
He's got like
he might be a mailman or something.
He's just a mess. It's like, yeah.
He's Popeye that aged.
He is a fucking character.
That's right.
He's a character,
Yeah.
Hey, what was it? Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I've talked to him quite a bit lately because he was coaching the Spanish Cup, and so he called me and asked me just what it was all about.
I was going to say, what was that year in Russia like? I mean, you weren't there long, but out of all the places you played, what was it like? I guess
in Zagreb.
Yeah.
Well, I took your ass out for dinner one night, didn't I?
Yeah. I played against. There's the only time I played against Shedden, and we had a shootout. And I remember you were just looking at me like telling me you better not be going. And then I went and scored the game winner, of course.
Yeah, you did, you little prick. Yeah, that's right. No, well, you know Russia better than I do. Like, that was an amazing experience. You see places that you don't want to retire in. You know, you would sleep on top of the covers there because you're afraid about getting in his bed covers there. It was just I got chromatosis, so they got to take blood out of my body every 2 months. And the doctor would be having a smoke and a glass of wine, taking the blood out of my body in the dressing room. Like, it's just, there's more stories about that. And just going through Moscow, taking all the equipment off the plane, 4 hours to put it back on the plane to go through customs, and like it was crazy.
That's right, because you were in Croatia. That's right. I forgot about that. That makes
So every time we come into Russia, we had to go through customs.
Yeah. Would you ever coach there, or like not even Zagreb, but like in the KHL? Would you ever look to go there?
I wouldn't say no to anybody.
Yeah. I mean,
I always say I'll listen. Like, I had a chance going to Magnitogorsk that one time, and I should have went there.
Yeah, you would have liked it there.
Yeah. That's when Paul Maurice, they hired him. I said no, and they hired Paul Maurice, and they won a championship.
That's nuts. I probably would have played for him again. Instead, he left me with Keenan, who, I
your
still
buddy,
wake up.
He coaches the Italian national team now.
What? He does?
Yeah.
Good for him. We had him on. So
we had him on, and it's funny, I said, Mike, I've met you a couple times now, but everybody I talked to that played for you, I asked them about Mike Keenan, they say, he was a fucking prick. Well, I said, what do you got to say about that? He said, I was, but I was a nice prick.
Well, Tiger hated him.
Yeah, he was just fucking. It was like Sheds. I was telling Chris before you came on, like how you were. He asked how you were with imports, and I was like, Sheds like relied on imports and did the best he could with them. And
well, I went for drinks with you guys too all the time.
Yeah, no, like it was awesome. It was awesome. Like when I got there to Magnitogorsk, Keenan, like. It was like I was like I
might as well have been Russian.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck. I don't even know how to explain it. I was like, wait a minute, we're like the two only Americans, North Americans. But yeah, he was different for sure.
So Lugano's your favorite place
without
to
a
live.
doubt.
How about favorite place to coach to? What was the best year coaching over there for you?
You know what?
Like most rewarding.
I would say Jokerit, the year I coached Jokerit and the Finnish national team. I did both jobs, so it was a busy year. I didn't get too many days off that year, but that was probably the most fun I've had in hockey in a long time, where I did both.
I agree. No, I agree.
And I coached Solani and the Koivu brothers and all those guys, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah.
At that level. I want to know, now you can't add the lockout year in this when you had NHL players over there. But who was the best player that you coached that maybe never played in the NHL, but maybe could have played in the NHL?
Well,
is that too broad a question? Or?
Well, Donnie Parsons, Boston guy.
Yeah.
If you put up in American League pro hockey players scoring, Donnie might be top 3 or top 4. He played for me for probably 10 years in Louisiana, Flint, Memphis. Guy had an amazing career at the AA level.
Yeah.
And I coached him a long time. Josh Holden's another name that pops open that I coached in Zug for a long time. But, to be able to coach a guy like Zetterberg in the lockout, Zetterberg came and played in Zug. He was pretty amazing player.
Yeah, huh?
Solani, his attitude, how he, just the type of guy he was. Like, those type of guys, the reason they're superstars is because they're great people too.
Yeah.
What's your has your style changed?
Stapleton.
Yeah, okay. That's, fuck, I was gonna call my therapist.
Anyways, this guy was one of my all-time favorites.
No, we just had, it was a big, huge part of my career for sure, Sheds. I appreciate obviously all that. I was gonna ask you. I forgot what I was gonna ask. I start crying and no, I was gonna ask. Has your like as you obviously the game's changed and how you treat the players and all that kind of stuff. Has that changed as a coach over there too?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm getting older and, the players obviously are getting younger. Used to be when I started coaching, the players was kind of the same age as me and you're, kind of hanging out with them sometimes, or the wives would hang out. But now the gap's getting really big. Now it's like, 40 years type of thing. And so, like, I think you still got to stay young. You got to be able to identify with these guys and how they think and how they act, and still, communicate with them and on the.
Yeah, but you could be hard on a guy fucking 15 years ago. Like now, I mean, it's hard to be hard on a guy without.
Well, the snowflakes are a little different now. So you can't be quite as hard. Like I'm not near as a prick as I used to be. That's for sure. That's for sure.
They tiptoed through the tulips, some of them today, right? It's
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim. You know the song.
You like the iPads? I got to ask you that. You like the iPads on the bench? I don't know if you guys get them, but I'm just saying, do you like that idea?
We're not that tech savvy. No, I had them in Slovakia, and I thought it was pretty cool. I don't have them here in Germany.
I fucking hate those things. I hate them. I told Tim if I'd fucking smash someone over the head with it, my career would be over.
That's right. Hey, that's an $800 iPad.
You get billed for it.
But really, like, you know what I'm talking about. Our era. And I know it's a new era, but, fuck you. Come back to the bench. Fucking get your breath. You got to talk to somebody. Talk to your line mate. And if you need to see something, fucking go in and see the coach between periods. Say, can I see that play?
Yeah.
I just see they always go to the fucking thing. I'm like, put the fucking thing down.
Next shift mentality. Next shift.
Yeah,
Focus on the next shift. And, the ones that we had in Slovakia, I'd turn around and, my, assistant would be, when you fucking hit in reverse, you're hitting fast forward, you're not seeing it anyways. You only got like 4 seconds to see something, right?
Yeah.
Can't find it. I lost it.
Oh, fuck. It's Three Stooges back there.
So if you could explain to me in a little bit what your coaching philosophy is, if I'm going to hire you, what are you going to tell me?
You know what? I think a lot of times I've had high offense teams. Like I've always had the highest scorer in the league and stuff like that. Puck possession, I really like. And I've played a 1-3-1 a lot too. And and I know people don't play a 1-3-1 a lot, but the right winger, and it's not a setback. It's a very aggressive one. The right winger fucking chases like hell. The right defenseman's up on the forecheck. The centerman's covering the middle. The left winger's got the left side. Then you got your cheater defenseman at the back. So I played that system a long time, and it's been very, really the right winger usually leads. Your best right winger usually leads the league in scoring.
Yeah.
So. I've always kind of been that way, and your special teams always got to be special, top 4 in the league. I practice those things a lot. Not much penalty killing. Penalty killing is more a video because I don't want guys blocking shots in practice every day. So
he was you're good. He was unbelievable at getting a player to be great at what they what they're great at.
Yeah, like Clark.
Exactly.
Clark Williams is a good example. Like what he could do for. I knew he could kill penalties. He net front power play. He shut down the other team's top line every night. Like, those role players, Chris, like those role players are so important for success of any coach, I think.
Yeah, for sure. No question. How about the therapist end of things? And I'm sure you've grown over the years, but has your door always been open where guys feel comfortable coming in and sitting down with you?
100%. And what I do a lot of times too is I'll take a guy and say, let's go meet at a restaurant and have a beer together. So they feel a lot more comfortable outside my office where they're intimidated. So I'll do that a lot and meet players for either, dinner or lunch or let's go have a beer and shoot the shit.
So yeah, I just look at I look at your coaching resume and I'm jealous, and I say that because looking at the places you've been and you've lived, because to get to do that, to get to travel around, see the world, and do what you love to do. I mean, that's got to be awesome. How do you look at that when you look back at all you've accomplished there over the years?
Well,
I mean, what a life.
I got a big milestone coming up. I'm 3 wins away from 1,200.
Wow.
People go 1,200 games. I said no, 1,200 wins.
Wow.
It's a
How many games are left in the season?
We got 10 left.
Oh.
So, well, I better get it.
You go 2-8.
Oh, thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
2-8.
No, it is awesome, and it's incredible because you're an import, and you're just that's got to be tough to be an import.
We don't play 80 games. We don't play 80 games a year here either.
Yeah,
we only play
true.
52, 56, whatever it is. But I'm pretty proud of that, and I'm pretty proud, that you've hung around this long. Like coaching's, like a lot of guys go 2 or 3 years without jobs sometimes, and I've never gone 1 year without a job. So I'm pretty proud about that.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, I need and would like the honest to God truth about the scouting report on Tim.
But hold on,
I need the scouting report.
The one thing though, I'll say,
Tiger.
When I came out in that tryout in Finland, I told Nux this. I'm like, man, I had 1 assist in 4 games, and there was just like, as an import, like that's not, you don't keep a guy like you. Like basically, what I'm saying is, you did take a kind of a chance on me, so I want to know.
No,
why?
I want to know.
Yeah, like I'm already texting Sheds. I'm like, hey, take it easy on me. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know the whole story. I remember like yesterday. Matty Verminen, who was our general manager, he was well connected with Tiger's agent.
Billy Zito.
Matty came to me and said, we're bringing this kid over out of college for a tryout. I said, okay. And I remember my daughter's boyfriend was in town at the time, Tiger, I think.
Skating, yeah, he skated with us.
Yeah. And Tiger went out for 1 practice, and I walked upstairs to Matty and said, fucking sign him. 1 practice, I saw him 1 practice, said, are you crazy? Just sign the guy right now. And he ended up,
no, I had, yeah. I mean,
hey, Tim, shut up.
Okay, all right.
Number one, he could skate. He had great hands. He wasn't afraid. And, the league obviously wasn't that physical of a league at that time, but like his raw offensive ability was amazing. And he was a great kid. So, like, it was easy. Like, I think, was the first year in the top 10 scoring?
I don't know.
For sure, the second year.
35 goals. No, I was kidding. The second year was like top 10 because Billy Leno was my line mate, and he had like a 95 points.
In Santala.
Yeah. But the first year I ended up coming around. I had really good playoffs the first year.
That was the best year. That was the best line in the whole league. Santala, Leno, and Tiger were the best line by a mile.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And we could have won the championship that first year, but we had 10 guys that went on the operating table after the finals against Carpet. 10 guys operated.
It's unbelievable.
And Nux too. I was, like opportunity. It was like I got, there was some luck involved because there was no import signed when I came in. There was not one. I was the first one, right?
We brought Clark over, right?
Clark came over after me.
Yeah, and then Schnabel.
You brought Ryan Vandenbush. We had Bushy come in for like 2 games to fight, and then he went home.
I told that story the other day.
Tell the story. Tell Nux. It's kind of a incredible story.
You remember Ryan Vandenbush? Tough guy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know Bushy.
He wasn't a very big guy, obviously, but he comes over and, he's never been to Europe before. And we're playing IFK, which is the other Helsinki team, and we're Jokerit in Helsinki. So the tough guy, Nellikainen, right? Nellikainen? Mm-hmm. He did all the video work on Vandenbush, saw all his fights and all that. So I said to Ryan, I said, whatever you do not fight tonight. He goes, really? I said, no, don't, because they'll make a big deal of it, and it'll just be a disaster. You'll get suspended. So first shift, Ryan's on the 4th line. Their 4th line goes out. There's a face-off in front of our bench. So Nellikainen's, giving Bushy this one. Let's go. Bushy turns around and looks right at me. I said, don't fucking look at me. Don't look at me. So I'm going like this. All the cameras go, I'm going like this. Do not fight him. So Bushy couldn't, he had to fight him. He had to fight him.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal. The teams got fined 25,000 euros apiece. They both guys got suspended. But
that's how it was, though, Nux. It was like there was like one tough guy in the league, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like this guy was like the toughest, scariest in the league. And then we signed Vandenbush. He fights him the first game. It was a big deal.
Did Bushy give it to him?
Yeah.
It was a good fight. Both guys were pretty tough. But you know what? They made a big deal. It's goon hockey. I said, well, I'll tell you one thing. There's 12,000 people at that game. Not one person got up and left.
No. No, and over there, that's another thing. The fighting end of it, you don't hear much of it, you don't see much of it, but it does happen now and again. You know.
Yeah, once in a while, like would you see 4 or 5 scraps a year? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Not much. Not much.
Yeah. There's not much fighting, but guys don't play scared. You know what I mean? Like there's
No,
still
no.
tough. Yeah, I mean,
No.
guys, fucking, they run you.
The German league's pretty physical. The German league's kind of like an American league where it's a little bit more physical.
Yeah. Momesso played over there, Sergio, when he left the NHL. He said he loved playing in Germany. Really
Great.
loved it.
You know what? It's a great league. Every rink is sold out every night. I don't care if it's 20,000 in Cologne, 18,000 in Berlin, 17,000 in Mannheim. Every rink is sold out every night.
Yeah, Nux, they're like all these leagues we're talking about. Like there's import rules. Like Finland, you're allowed like 3 Finnish passports. In Germany, it's like half the team's like North American. Right?
Yeah, you're allowed 9 guys can play. 9 9 non-imports can play.
Yeah.
So it's so a lot of the again, we just picked up Nick Ritchie. He was in Finland. And he was an Oulu Tiger, so he hated it. So now he's come here and everybody's speaking English in the dressing room. He goes, "Oh, this is great. This is great."
Has the Finnish league changed since you coached there? Like, is it not? It's different right now. It
Yeah,
was like the most North American style kind of hockey back then.
Yeah. Plus, there's a non-import rule now. You can have as many as you want.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can't stop European guys from working in different countries now. So they had to open up the borders.
Good stuff. Hey, Doug Shedden, this has been awesome. I really impressed with your career and what you've done.
Thank you.
Stuck with it. You've done well. You made a nice life for yourself. You got to travel the world and do what you love to do. That's just awesome. Listen, we never met. We played against each other. Always respected you as a player, and even more so as a coach now. What you've done, that's really cool.
Me too, Chris. Me too. I've always been a fan of yours, and I'm glad you're doing great, and life's taking care of you. That's awesome.
Thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on. I've been bugging Tiger a long time.
He has bugged me a little bit. He's like, hey, fucking. I was like, look at you.
You got all these other nerds on all the time. Get me on.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.